So, at the end of the day, the top TF2 loadout for the sniper is... So if you followed my channel for a while, you know that I am in fact not a sniper main, I am a heavy main. So that begs the question, why am I making a tutorial for a sniper loadout? I'll tell you why. I've been browsing YouTube a lot lately and seen a lot of those videos from so-called experts about weapon loadouts, and a lot of them, while they might have been good at one time, are pretty outdated at this point, and there is a shortage of new ones, especially in the sniper. So because of that, I've decided to make an updated tutorial on the best sniper loadout weapons of 2018 and coming up to 2019. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. For our first primary weapon, we have the stock sniper rifle, along with its cosmetic brother, the upper hand. Both of these are the basic sniper rifle that all the variants are designed off of and have advantages and disadvantages based off of. The base damage for it with a hit body shot can be anywhere from 50 to 150 damage points depending on the charge. The headshot can be 150 to 450, again depending on the charge. While there isn't anything particularly special one way or another about the stock sniper rifle, it's a very powerful gun that looks and feels pretty much like a sniper rifle should. There really isn't much more to say about it, it's your everyday sniper rifle. The classic sniper rifle differentiates from the stock sniper rifle in one respect only. Charge is independent of zoom. What this means is you can hold down the right click on the mouse to charge the sniper rifle even when you're not zoomed in. I personally found this a very useful feature on the gun once I actually got used to how it operated, because I could hold down a charge and then no-scope somebody much more easily, or go through the scope and then just lift up my finger instead of having to manually push the button on the mouse. I found this to be a very, very nice feature, but that being said, the gun does have some downsides as well. It has a 10% lower damage penalty on body shots, and it can't even headshot unless it's fully charged. While these upsides are very useful, the fact that you are not able to headshot without fully scoping on the gun makes this a less than optimal choice for your primary sniper rifle. I found that I have quite the love-hate relationship with the Huntsman and with its brother, the fortified compound. This throwback to medieval times really gives you quite the advantage as far as mobility is concerned, with a 70% maximum charge time and a 96% charging movement speed. However, the fact that it has 20% negative charge damage and 48% less total ammo makes this a somewhat less than optimal gun to use as a primary sniper rifle. There are times when this gun could do particularly well, but in my own experience, I found that whether I hit my target with the arrows or not, were rather hit or miss, since there's no scope option whatsoever. This was definitely the biggest drawback to the weapon in my experience. Without the ability to scope, the rather hit or miss nature of the arrow has earned this weapon the clever nickname of the Luxman by the TF2 community. The Bazaar Bargain's claim to fame is that the charge rate for the weapon increases by 25% with each headshot. Now, for a sniper pro who's getting headshots just like that each and every single time, it might be a pretty good gun. But because it starts off at a 50% base charge rate penalty, I personally found this gun to be way too slow to charge and found myself dying too often to get it up to the 200% maximum charge rate that it offers. For some people who are more pro at sniper than I am, this might be a very great gun, but I would definitely not recommend it for the everyday sniper. The Sydney Sleeper always used to be an extremely poor choice for a primary sniper gun, because there was no benefit to getting headshots. However, in the past year, this has all been changed. Now, scoped headshots always mini-crit and reduce the remaining cooldown of Jarate by 1 second. Now that you can get mini-crits, the gun has come back into relevancy again. Normally, when you hit a scoped hit, the Jarate effect is applied to your target for 2 to 5 seconds based on the amount charged. And also, the charge rate is increased by 25%. Some pretty decent positives to the gun. However, you still do have the downside of headshots not getting critical hits, only mini crits, and 2, there are no random critical hits with this gun. I've always liked the idea of using this gun in competitive play because I could see some advantages to it. If you were communicating and coordinating with your team fairly effectively, then you could use it to help your teammates gain an advantage in 1v1 type skirmishes. For example, a heavy medic combo versus another heavy medic combo. Shooting one of the opponents could give your teammates the leg up, what with the mini crits being on your side. However, while this idea is great in theory, I've never been able to use it successfully in my own experience. Usually I'm either on a team that is not coordinating well, or such situations where this would be helpful do not occur. I still think that such a strategy could prove useful in time. However, this is not the most optimal gun for casual TF2 gameplay. Having had little experience with the Machina before this test run, I was very pleasantly surprised how well this gun handled. You have a 15% damage increase for fully charged shots, and fully charged shot penetrate players and hit the player behind them. This is very helpful in defeating medic heavy combos. However, the gun only fires when zoomed, which is probably its biggest downside, and it leaves a bright, easily traceable team-colored line. Now, the team-colored line part is not really that big of a deal, but the zoom part, that's kind of a deal breaker. Still, this gun would be a very good choice for a sniper who was trying to get the maximum amount of damage possible. But since it only fires when zoomed, I can't really give it my full seal of approval. Out of all those sniper rifles that I've tested, the Hitman's Heatmaker has definitely been the most disappointing. For each kill or assist kill, you gain focus, and then you can press the reload button to activate focus. When you have focus, you don't unscope in between shots, and you have a 25% faster charge rate. The downside is there is a 20% damage penalty on body shots. For me personally, since I'm not a sniper pro and I don't get headshots each and every single time, I found this to be somewhat of a bother. I do lower body damage, which doesn't really help with the kills and assists, and then the focus I gain I found was annoying because I couldn't unscope in between the shots. Now for me personally, that might just be personal bias. Some people who are sniper pros might do very well with this weapon, but I definitely did not find it to be a very enjoyable player experience. The stock secondary is the submachine gun. It's a fairly run-of-the-mill secondary gun. It does a base damage of 8 hit points and 24 for critical hits. Personally, I didn't find this gun to be very effective. When enemies are chasing you and you're backing up, the most you can do is just sort of spray them and run backwards. But I would have found a melee to be much more effective versus using this gun. For the Jarate, you throw it on enemies to have them take mini crits upon hit. It partially nullifies the cloak of enemy spies and extinguishes flames on both yourself or any of your teammates that it hits. I've personally found this to be a very effective secondary tool for assisting in sniper kills. It was very enjoyable to use against enemy spies, which are the sniper's #1 enemy, and I found it effective in countering the passive damage produced by pyros. The only real downside to this weapon is that pyros can reflect it. However, I have not seen this done to date in any of my experience using it for this test run or in just my own personal play. On the other hand, this weapon does have a 20-second recharge. In my experience, I found the Cleaner's Carbine to be a fairly ineffective weapon. Its only advantages over its SMG counterpart is that when you deal damage with it, a meter called the Crikey meter will charge up, and when fully charged, will mini-crit for 8 seconds. However, when the SMG being already fairly ineffective, with the Cleaner's Carbine you have a 20% smaller clip size and a 25% lower firing speed. This is definitely a big no for me. The next 3 sniper secondaries don't focus on damage at all, they only focus on protection. The first one would be Darwin's Danger Shield. This is very effective in countering pyros with its 50% fire damage resistance on wearer, and its 100% afterburn resistance, so that's pretty useful. However, I personally didn't find it as useful as some of the other options just because there was only a limited encounter that I had with pyros whatsoever. But then again, I play Sniper pretty much more from the stay farther in the back, don't go out in the battlefield, right out in the midst of all the fight. But still, it's a very effective weapon for countering pyros. The main benefits of the Cozy Camper is that it prevents flinching when aiming and your primary weapon is fully charged, it reduces knockback by 20% when aiming, and it regenerates health per second depending on when damage was last taken, anywhere from 1 to 4 points per second. As useful as these features might sound at first glance, I didn't particularly find them very useful during my tests. Flinching has never been much of a problem, and while the knockback reduction was helpful, it really didn't make that much of a difference to me. Regenerating health seemed to be the only particularly useful feature to the sniper, and that was such a low amount it hardly made the whole thing seem worth it. In my tests, I only found myself being healed 1 to 2 points per second, and the kind of attacks that the sniper faces, generally either by pyro, demo, or spy, it did not offer enough protection to make much of a difference either way. The Razorback does one thing, and it does it very well. It prevents a spy from backstabbing you as a sniper, temporarily shocking the spy so that he can't switch weapons or attack you, though he can still cloak. This not only keeps you alive, but it also makes a loud enough noise to alert you of the spy's presence, allowing you to turn around and attack him. However, the Razorback has a fairly drastic downside because it prevents overheal of any kind from any of the medics. The Razorback is extraordinarily helpful in countering spies, arguably Sniper's #1 enemy. But the real question is it worth the cost of any potential overheal? The Kukri is the Sniper's stock default melee weapon, with a base damage of 65 points and a crit damage of 195. The Tribalman Shiv causes your opponent to bleed upon being hit, but the downside is it does 50% less damage. I personally didn't find this to be a very helpful weapon. While the passive effect was very useful in helping to kill your opponent, it definitely did not help kill him more quickly, which is definitely what I desire when I come into close combat with an opponent as a sniper. The Bushwacka works almost identically to the stock melee weapon. However, it crits whenever it would normally mini-crit. However, the downside is the weapon produces no random crits, and what's more important, raises your damage vulnerability by 20% when it's active. This was my biggest problem with the weapon because already being in such a vulnerable spot only made it that much harder to stay alive. The Shahanshah, try saying that 3 times fast. Shahanshah, Shahanshah, Shahanshah. Kinda hard to do. Anyway, the Shahanshah increases 25% in damage when health is less than 50%. However, the downside is it decreases by 25% in damage when health is more than or equal to 50%. I honestly find myself on the fence about this one. While the 25% bonus can be a huge advantage when trying to fend off a scout in way too close proximity, it can also be a detriment when you're at full health and a spy decides to come at you out of nowhere and tries to pistol you to death. So, at the end of the day, the top TF2 loadout for the sniper is the stock sniper rifle, the Razorback, and the Shahanshah. The stock sniper rifle wins in its category because it's just that good. It's got all the qualities that make the sniper a great class to play without having to sacrifice downsides for questionable upsides. The Razorback wins because out of all the secondary weapons that do damage, they leave much to be desired, and out of all those that provide protection, you just can't beat the backstab insurance that the Razorback offers. While not being able to be overhealed can be a tiresome trade-off, it seems a small price to pay for not having to worry that you're a happy-go-lucky sniper one moment and a frozen ice statue the next. Finally, for the Shahanshah, this weapon is optimal for this loadout because you're only going to be using melee mainly once you've been attacked and you're in close quarters with your combatant, so that little bit of extra damage is going to help you when you need it the most. And there you have it everyone, the optimal sniper loadout for Team Fortress 2 for 2018 and 2019. Really hope you all enjoyed it. This has been a very informative process for me, learning about the sniper, doing tests, doing research for this video. I hope it was very informative for you guys as well. But I'd like to hear from you. What kind of loadouts do you guys like to use for the sniper? Do you have a particular combo do you enjoy? What is your opinion on the Huntsman? Do you think it's great? Do you think it's one of those lucky shot sort of weapons? Let me know what you guys think about all this kind of stuff down in the comments. Would definitely love to hear from you. Again, really hope you all enjoyed the videos. Be sure and check out some of the other great stuff we got here on the channel if you have not already. And yeah, really hope you all enjoyed this. Really hope it was helpful. Please let me know if you want to see more videos like this, maybe for other class type loadout, maybe for other TF2 topics, or maybe even for a different game. But yeah, thank you all once again for watching. I am Kaskarte de Utica, and until next time, I will see you all at the top. Aside from my soul, aside